Right, welcome to State of the Game for April 20th. If you've been reading down below, you've already seen, I already kind of blew the news in the ticker down there. PTS starts tomorrow. PTS for 1.6.1 starts tomorrow.
Yes.
Correct.
It does.
What more can you tell us about that?
At least as far as we can say today.
Well, that's what we've been...
Unless something terrible happens tonight or tomorrow morning and we have to delay it, yes, the PTS will start tomorrow for the update 1.6.1.
But yes, we will be giving you up-to-date news as we can. Like it says down below, follow Twitter and that sort of thing for probably the quickest news. I'll try and stream in the morning, and I'll ask Yannick if he can pop in and out should any news break and that sort of thing. So what kind of time will we be aiming for? So
it should be, I think we are targeting around noon. We need to do the final testing on the build tomorrow morning. The build should already be available. So normally if you already have the PTS installed on your computer, you can just update it. Normally there should be an update already available for download. If it's not yet, it will be made available tomorrow morning for sure. So we need to do some final testing, but we're looking at noon-ish Swedish time, which is oh no, time no.
Is it happening
time
again?
difference being again. Yeah, so
just Google it.
Noon CEST, so noon European time, which
in
is
about 19
11
hours.
in the UK, and then -6, so 6 in the US Eastern time, and 3 AM PST.
It's my favorite part of the stream.
Something like that. Anyway.
Okay. Yes, you did. Can we wind things back a little bit? I saw some people in chat asking PTS. What, like, there are probably some people who don't know what PTS even is, Yannick. Sometimes we can be a bit presumptuous and be like, you know, using all these acronyms and stuff. PTS stands for?
PTS stands for Public Test Server.
Right.
And so the concept of the PTS is that we are making the build, we are basically making the next update of the Division available to all players on PC. This one is on PC only, again, unfortunately. As we said, next one, the first big update this summer. This one should be on console, but the one that we are talking about right now will be on PC only. So if you own the Division on PC, you need to own the Division. It's not available to people who don't own the game. But no matter if it's on Steam or on Uplay, if you own it, you are able to access the PTS version. So you should see it as a game, as a separate game on your Uplay or Steam client. You can download it and you will get access to the next update directly on this build. Your characters get transferred there. You can play around with the new build, play around with your character. Nothing gets transferred back to the main game, so don't worry about deleting stuff and moving stuff around. It has no impact to the main game, and we are basically doing that to ask you guys to go to this PTS, test the new build, test the new update, and tell us what you think about it. Tell us if you find bugs, tell us if there is anything wrong with the balancing, if some of the changes we did work or don't work, if you like them, if you don't like them, all of that.
Perfect. Great. No, I saw a couple of questions in there that I want to address. What will happen if you're not level 30 yet and you want to get on the PTS?
So if you're not level 30 yet, you can go on the PTS. You will get your character, that is whatever level it is. But if you create a character on the PTS, you directly get a level 30 character. Okay.
What if you have the trial version? I see Hovercats is asking. I'm assuming that it's only available to people who own retail copy of the game.
Yeah, you need to have bought the game. So trial is not enough. You won't get the PTS.
Yes. The other one that I saw, sorry, just winding back, someone was asking, so the PTS is a bug fix server, basically. Kind of.
Yeah.
It's so we can test the content before we put it out in the live environment. Can we preload or not? James, you've preempted exactly what we're going to talk about next. You can get the build now.
So,
right?
It was updated. Normally it should be available, but I'm not sure exactly how it works with, you know, Uplay, Steam, and all of that. So it could be that there's a bit of a delay there or whatever. Normally it should be available tomorrow morning anyway for everyone before we open it.
All right.
It's going to be available for preload. If it's not now, it's going to be tomorrow morning.
Great. And there was another question I saw in there that was good too. Do we need the Season Pass? If it's anything like previous PTSs, to access Season Pass content on the PTS, you need Season Pass in the live game, correct?
Yeah, so you don't need the Season Pass to access the PTS, but to access the DLCs, you need the Season Pass, or you need at least to own the DLCs. So DLCs, since all the DLCs have been released, yes, basically if you own them separately, or if you own the Season Pass, you can access them. If we make them available, because sometimes we don't make all the DLCs available on the PTS. I think it's going to be the case for this one, but I don't know exactly what was the last call on it, because we need to save server space, and all the DLCs are on different servers. So I believe that Survival will not be available on the PTS. Okay. Last Stand will be, because there are a bunch of changes or fixes and some few changes. I can't remember for Underground.
Cool.
But we'll confirm that.
Perfect. All right, loadouts we talked about is one of the big things that people are going to get to test for the first time, which is going to be awesome. We've been talking about it more since the release of the game, and I know people would say, myself included, in a perfect world, that this should have been in there from day one. Sure. But what we have now is the reality that it's coming very, very, very soon. Yeah. And I'm very, very excited about it. We did show a very early version of it on the stream back in March. Yeah. But it's changed a little bit. And
yeah, it's I mean, it's been kind of.
It was in development, so.
Yeah, it was in development. It's been finalized. First, there's less bugs with it. We've added a few things, like you can rename your loadouts, and I think a few other tweaks here and there for the UI. So it's going to be similar to what you've seen if you watched the stream back then. But yeah, please test it and tell us how it is.
Cool. So Ninja Scrubs was asking, how long is the PTS going to run before we put it live?
So far, I don't know exactly, but I think we should count probably a couple of weeks. That's going to depend on how much things we find and how many times we need to update it to fix the bugs that are going to be found on the PTS. But yeah, it's probably going to be something about a couple of weeks.
Last Stand is obviously a bit of a focus for this. Redstone have been working really hard on that. Well, it's our most recent feature.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most recent big feature that was released. So there was a lot of big bug fixing and a few balancing changes and tweaks that happened between the release of 1.6 and Last Stand, and now the next update, which is the one we're talking about now. So yeah, we need to have some testing on Last Stand. There's also the idea of the proficiency marks that we talked about last time, I believe, or before that, I can't remember. But yeah, we talked about it, which is this new feature in Last Stand where basically people get rewarded for the contribution they did in the game, in the session, like the guy that did the most whatever, the most points captured or whatever will get special rewards, and all these kind of things are like an extra points. So proficiency marks are added in this version, so they will be available on the PTS. And yeah, as I said, there's also a bunch of bug fixing. So please do test this new iteration of Last Stand.
All right. And obviously, beyond that, we did say that 1.6.1 isn't a feature-rich patch. It's largely for bug fixing and balancing and these sorts of things. We did manage to get loadouts into it, but those types of things will be a 1.7 focus. Now it's a bug fixing and balancing, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. I've seen some people asking about Deadeye. We don't have any changes for Deadeye yet in this PTS. It's definitely something we're going to be looking at, especially with now the Seeker Airburst that is being changed. We need to see if Deadeye is not going to become the new meta. So that's the kind of situation we're going to keep an eye on and see if we need to make some changes there. But so far, there's nothing with Deadeye, or there's no changes to Deadeye in this version. So what do we have in the patch notes? So some of the highlights, I just highlighted some of the stuff in bright yellow there. So, but you'll get to see the entire patch notes tomorrow when we publish them. But yes, so we said loadouts, so you will get access to the loadouts, which is great. What do I have in there? We've had a few fixes to revive bugs. We fixed already some revive bugs a few weeks ago, or months ago, or something like that. But we had some remaining bugs. We fixed a few more now, so hopefully there will be less issues with reviving. We fixed stuff like HVT bosses that were being stuck in their, in their spawn room, for example. Like it happened sometimes that you would do an HVT and then you can't finish it because the boss is actually stuck in the spawn area.
Definitely had that.
So we had some fix for that. We are fixing the level 34 extended mags. We talked about that. We said we were going to do it. It's happening. So the level 34 extended mags will now roll from 109% to 121% instead of 109 to 111. Yep. but it's not retroactive. So your level 34 extended mags that you have now will keep the same value, but any new extended mag that you will get that are level 34 will roll between 109 and 121 instead of 109 and 111. So that's a nice one. We are doing the change to Nimble that we know has been discussed a lot. Nimble, what we are doing is we are basically making it a heal over time. So the value of the heal is going to be the same. It's still 2% per, what was it, meters covered. But you're not going to get the heal instantly. It's going to be a heal over time in 4 seconds. So you're going to get 4 ticks in 4 seconds of heal. And you need to stay in cover to keep the heal. If you leave the cover or the destination cover, the heal is interrupted.
Cool.
We fixed a bug with recalibration. There was a bug with recalibration. It was reported on the forums where stuff like, I think it was health and kill that could roll from 4 to 5%, or not health and kill, was it skill haste? I can't remember. Anyway, some of the bonuses and damage to elite, I think also that could roll until 15%. But there was a bug with recalibration where you could only roll to that minus 1%. So basically, if the maximum roll was 5%, you could only roll to 4%. If the maximum roll was 15%, you could only roll to 14%. All these kind of things. This is fixed, so now you will get to recalibrate to the actual maximum value. What else do we have in there? Shrapnel is fixed. Shrapnel and Predator are going to work and synergize together. So if you have a 4-piece Predator and Shrapnel, you're going to get to spread the bleed.
Yes.
Which is going to be nice.
I like that.
Similarly, Fear Tactics and Wildfire are also fixed, so they're going to spread correctly to people around when you're applying burn effect or shock effect.
Just quickly, it's worth reiterating, guys, that this is for 1.6.1 PTS. That isn't deployed onto the live game until it's all been tested, and there will be changes. So it's good that you guys have opinions about those and that you continue to voice them and have productive conversations about them. So this is by no means exactly what will be in 1.6.1 come the release. So don't forget that. I know it's easy to just be like, oh, this didn't happen. Nothing's happened yet.
So these are all things that we're going to test on the PTS. If you've not been part of the PTS or of the PTSs from the past, you might not know that, but a lot of things change during PTS. So
exactly.
Don't take all of this for granted. Please test it before you form an opinion. Please test it and tell us what you think.
Exactly.
If you get to test it, of course. If you're a console player, you don't get to test it, unfortunately. But you may still have an opinion. Weapons, what do we have? The burst fire weapons, we talked about that also last time. So burst fire weapons will now actually really burst fire, which means that if you're binding your fire key to the scroll button or whatever, the scroll wheel, you will not get to shoot like an automatic weapon anymore. It's going to be burst fire. The flinch has been reduced, so that's interesting to mention. We talked about it last time, and we were talking about stagger, and a lot of people were confused. Wait, is it stagger or flinch that you are reducing? It's actually technically the flinch. So what that means is that when you're going to be shot at from another player or another NPC, the flinch effect, which is the
reticle going,
how your aim is moving, is going to be way less than it used to be because it was way too strong.
It's confusing though, because like the shotgun bonus is listed as stagger, and it is, but that stagger, when it applies to another player, is causing them to flinch. So it can be a little bit unclear, but you guys know what we talk about when. Even though we probably call it like, someone runs at me with a shotgun and I get staggered, well, you're actually getting a flinch effect. But, you guys get it.
Exactly. But clarification, yes, it's the flinch. When we said stagger last time, it's actually we mean flinch. Seeker Mine Airburst. So we talked about this one. We said we were going to change it. So we are doing what we said, which is transferring 20% of the explosion damage into the fire damage, which means 20% of the damage that the burst damage you used to do is going to actually be transferred into damage over time, which means the total damage that you do if the fire is not cleansed is going to be the same, but it's a bit more of the damage over time and a bit less of the explosion damage, which we hope should be addressing the Seeker Mine issue.
Exactly. I saw an interesting thing going back to the flinching conversation. I think it was Nathane was asking, Does that also apply to NPCs? It applies both to PvP and PvE, correct?
Yes, it is.
I think the effect is less in PvE.
Because it's mostly, because it's linked, as you said, to a stagger effect. So it's going to have more of an impact on shotguns than other ones, but it affects both. It's just going to be a bit more noticeable in PvP. What else do we have? We are fixing a bug with throwable skills. So the skills that you could aim and cast or whatever. If you would receive a status effect while you were aiming your skill, the skill would become unusable. It would become lock and you couldn't use it anymore. We're fixing that. We have a bunch of fixes for the ballistic shield and issues where you would have the ballistic shield deployed and do something and then stuff is broken. I'm not listing all of them, but there's a bunch of fixes. Fixes with missions as well, Grand Central, Times Square and all of that. Like a few different fixes with things like the boss that could run out of the mission area, also missions where you finish the mission and then you cannot fast travel because you're stuck in combat with some enemies from outside of the mission area. These kind of things, more comfort kind of bug fixes. But yeah, these were annoying, so we're fixing a bunch of things there. Some bug fixing with stolen signal as well. Curveball that would stop throwing grenades. The heavy Riker, there's a heavy Riker at some point that's just moving too slow, you know, when you have the timer to actually kill them, and it would be moving too slow sometimes, so you don't actually have time to kill it because it's staying in its spawn area for too long because it's too slow. Stuff like that. Anyway, a bunch of fixes there. Some fixes with underground as well, like GPS improvements also for the tracking. Also the secure the intel mission, that was something that was reported a while ago. Secure the intel mission, where sometimes you actually the recover the report step is actually 2 kilometers away from you, and it's actually outside of the map area anyway. Fixed. Stuck issues in underground. What else do we have? Improvements to survival to the map as well. Positions where you could be stuck and things like that. Or hunter not spawning correctly. So proficiency marks, we talked about them. I'm getting there eventually. I'm trying to be fast. I'm not
you guys will read this all on the forums tomorrow.
What else do we have? Improvements to spawn camping, so to the spawn camping or the spawn logic to limit the spawn camping. We're not improving the spawn camping, we're improving solutions against the spawn camping in Last Stand. That is. What else do we have? Stuck unloading on back-to-back sessions in Last Stand is also fixed, which is good.
I can take over if you want. Are you sick of this? These are highlighted things. We haven't even highlighted everything. Weapon talents requirements not correctly scaling to gear score values, fixed. Just a lot of general world fixes. Graphical corruption, incorrect lighting, disappearing props, incorrectly placed props, missing textures, collisions in cover, getting stuck on things weirdly, like we said before. So if we actually listed out each instance of those, we'd be here.
There's a lot.
Oh, wow. The rewards for clearing the landmark in the dark zone is, we talked about that last week, but that's coming.
Yeah.
And then the level design changes like the Coward's Corner ladder and that sort of thing. I can't wait to see what people think of that and if they find other new spots. Landmarks not showing as cleared. Landmarks not spawning second waves. Fast traveling to DZ checkpoints. Lots of fixes, lots of fixes. Rewards claim vendor displaying 0.
Yes.
Fixed. Matchmaking on the mega map could lead people to be match made to Last Stand even if they choose another activity. I didn't even saw that one.
Yeah, that was a thing.
All right, that's fixed. PC-specific ones, some DX12 changes and a bunch of other things on PC as well.
And a bunch of other things.
You'll read them in the morning, but there is a lot. Manhunt spots, Rising Maho's saying, there's some level design changes.
Yeah.
That's your job. Read that stuff. I mean, I could read some of the more mundane ones if you want.
So somebody was asking about triage as well. Yes, there are some fixes for triage. We just haven't mentioned them, but they're in there.
Here's some of the more mundane ones, so you guys understand.
DirectX 12 also, yes, we have DirectX 12 fixes. Yes.
I just said that.
Oh, you mentioned them.
Fixed a bug where players would be unable to scroll through their contaminated items if they had more than 5 in the inventory. Fixed a bug where players would be unable to type in the chat window on the last and post-match screen. Fixed a bug that could cause rapid camera jumps in the base of operations entrance. Fixed a bug where turning VSync off could lead to increased loading times. There's a lot. Anyway. But we used our discretion to kind of give you the ones that we think are important. All bugs are important, don't get me wrong. ETF.
ETF. So yes, the ETF, we're not forgetting about it. We haven't talked about it, but yeah, the ETF is still going to happen. We are working on the dates now. We're trying to get everybody to agree on the dates, and everybody, that means all the studios involved and everything, because it's actually going to happen at Reflections Studio, not at Massive. It's going to be at Reflections in the UK, in Newcastle upon Tyne, I think is the actual name of the city.
It's good.
In the UK. So we are looking at, it should happen around end of May. We're looking at probably last week of May is so far the dates, but we will confirm that. And once this is confirmed, we will start the application process.
Yes. So we could potentially be doing that process as early as next week.
So if you are available end of May, and again, we're going to confirm that, so don't book holiday or anything yet. But if you're available end of May and you want to contribute and you want to come to Reflections, and there's going to be people from Massive and people from Red Storm as well, we're going to have everyone there. If you want to come to Reflections and have discussion about the game and all of that, you can start looking at your agenda and looking at your passport and all these kind of things.
Yes, you will need a passport. If you don't have one, we had issues during the first ETF especially, where people would apply even though they didn't have a passport, and it was all sorts of madness. If you don't have a passport, we can't take your application. That's all for today.
Yep.
All right.
Perfect.
Take it easy, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your April 20th, and we'll see you tomorrow for PTS of 1.6.1. Long live the Alliance.